Suyash, for connecting with us on OTT Play. It's a pleasure having you on board to speak with us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
And
Thank you so much, Akila, for hosting me. I love speaking to people in general. So it's a pleasure just chatting with you.
thank you. So, you have started India's first OTT platform exclusively for wildlife. Could you tell us a bit about how did you get that idea and about your journey so far in brief?
Sure, absolutely. I had this idea for the past 3 years to do virtual safaris in India. I want to deliver an experience of the safari to people's homes all across the world, especially because I think that not everyone has the time, resources, or energy, or even the finances to travel. Uh, Going into a safari holiday or taking a safari holiday, doing safaris is actually very expensive and time consuming. Um, and it's not possible for everyone to do that. But I want people to still have a way to connect with the wild. It's easy sometimes to connect with nature because you can go into the park. But if you go into your local park, you might not see wildlife, depending on where you live. So still the misconception always is, tigers or wild animals are dangerous to humans. And there's a huge gap between people and wildlife. I wanted to bridge that gap. I wanted to bring people closer to nature. And what better than taking them on a safari to one of the most biodiverse places in the world? So I decided I wanted to do this in Bandhavgarh. We've done a lot of filming in Bandhavgarh. A lot of my documentaries have been shot there. And that's where over the 3 years, this idea of the virtual safari came up. So we started doing some testing. And after the testing, we were like, okay, we're just going to do the virtual safaris. And then the thing came, okay, where should we do it? Should we give it off to a third party? Should we put it on YouTube? And that's where over the time I was like, it's our product. So why not host it on our own platform? So me and our very small team, but dedicated team, put in blood, sweat, and tears to get this platform together, then get this virtual safari experience together. And now it gives people access, people from all across the world, access to a content like that, where literally they feel like they're sitting behind me on a jeep while I'm driving, spotting different animals, tracking tigers with them, and showing them the beautiful wildlife.
Okay. It's a big achievement to have at such a young age. So, congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And I just wish, I'm very privileged to be doing this. And I just wish that I can continue doing this.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
your season one of the series is out, has been out for a while. I think it was out in October.
It
So,
started in
how?
October and then it ended in end of December. Yeah.
Okay. So, how has
Yes.
the response been like for season one?
I think the response has been phenomenal. I think people who have watched it, they have absolutely loved it. Because when we were pitching it as a virtual safari, I think we were at the tail end of the second wave, and people were just so sick and tired of everything being virtual. They're like, okay, not another Zoom meeting, not another virtual event, another virtual thing. And I think we did have a challenge with that. But I wanted to tell people, look, this is not replacing a physical experience. Think of it like what you watch on TV, but think of it as more immersive, think of it as more educational, and think of it more adventurous. It's helping you connect with nature and giving you an alternative to traveling right now when travel is so difficult. So in the beginning, we had that problem for sure, but then slowly as people watched it, they were like, "Wow, we didn't expect it to be so fun! Like, how could you replicate an actual experience in the wild for us at home?" The only thing people are like, the only thing that they can see is different is they miss the wind and they miss the bumps of the vehicle. Everything else was the same, they said. Like the thrill of spotting a tiger because it's unfolding in real time, and like it's not like in documentaries, it's only the action that you see. Here we're actually tracking. We find pug marks. We hear alarm calls. We hear growling of the tiger. We wait, then the tiger comes out, and I'm always like, tiger, tiger, tiger. So I think
Yeah.
I think that really helped people, and it really caused a great impact, especially for younger kids. Kids who are aspiring to be someone like me, or kids who want to be more connected to wild, or even parents who enjoy the wild but are not able to leave their kids behind. I think it really created a big impact.
Okay. So season one focuses on the species of tigers of Bandhavgarh. So why did you
Yes.
decide tigers to be the first part of your series, and why this particular national park?
See, Bandhavgarh is like home for me. I have worked there for over a decade. I know the people like they're my family. I know the tigers like they're my family. I know each and every single place in Bandhavgarh, and I know the landscape very well. I've tracked some tigers since they were 3, 4 months old, all the way till 9, 10, 11 years old. I've seen tigers come and go, and it's a very biodiverse park. So you have a lot of species of mammals, you have a lot of species of birds, over 250 species of birds, over 35 species of mammals. There are a lot of different insects. The landscape is beautiful. It's mostly salt forest, which is evergreen, and those things really add to the whole visual experience. Why I chose tigers is tigers are the hallmark species. If I can show the beauty of tigers, if I can show the charisma of tigers, but also the humanity in tigers, a mother with her cubs, nursing her cubs, a mother trying to hunt for her cubs, a male tiger just marking his territory because he has to build a territory of his own. That's like him building a house of his own. um, I think if I can do that, then I can really tell people that, okay, if you conserve these tigers, then you see these birds, we can conserve these birds. If we conserve these birds, we can conserve these trees, the soil, the entire ecosystem. Nothing catches people's eye like a tiger. It's a world-renowned species. If you tell people, let's study about frogs or let's study about insects, most people, 99% of the people will not be interested. But I can get the 99 people interested if I say a tiger. And if I say a tiger, I can conserve the tiger, but I can also conserve the frogs and the bees and the birds and insects under the tiger as well. So it's just a strategy to save everything in the name of tigers.
They are
Yeah,
actually very beautiful and majestic creatures.
100%. And they're the umbrella species. You see, that's why you end up conserving everything under them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, in one of your episodes, I remember you saying that filming is just 10% of the entire safari,
Yeah.
and it was just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
So, how much waiting did it take to come out with the season one of the series? How long
Oh,
did you take to?
season one. So this is actually the virtual safari experience is happening in real time. So we did not spend what a typical documentary filmmaker would spend, that is a year or 6 months or 7 months. For five virtual safari experiences, we actually just spent 5 days
Oh,
filming, because it's literally you enter the park, that's where the safari begins, until the end, whatever you see is in the safari. Of course, creating the platform, marketing the platform, creating the trailer, creating the other content, that took about 6 months to generate properly. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it didn't take that long to spot solo then.
So I think that you're talking about is the WWF International Series. So that's not the virtual safari experience. That series took almost 9, 10 months to a year. That was for WWF International that I produced in 2019. In from May 2019 till about December 2019. We did a little bit of filming afterwards and a little before as well. And that was about Solo. Solo was not live during the virtual safari filming process. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what were the challenges that you faced while creating the virtual experiences?
I think the biggest challenge that we faced was really thinking whether a product like this will be successful or not. Like, is it not something that's even needed? Second, what we faced is how to keep the audience engaged. I had to be talking constantly on the mic. If you see a bird, if you see a tree, where we're going, where we're headed, the condition of the weather, the condition of the soil, every single thing. So I had to be a plethora of information for everyone, a dictionary, a Britannica encyclopedia for everyone, to keep the audience engaged. I had to put the same level of emphasis on a tiger sighting versus while describing a soil, which is very difficult to do. You can't get very technical, you know. You have to be be precise, you have to be concise, and you have to deliver it in a fun and educational manner. So I think that was a challenge. Of course, other challenges were that it's a fully funded effort, fully self-funded effort, uh, self-funded, self-executed, and then an effort like this is goes a long way. So even though we just 5 episodes or 5 experiences took 5 days, we had to do a lot of text testing before, a month and a half of testing before, and for our upcoming episodes and upcoming experiences, we had to spend a lot more time, money, effort, dedicate an entire team, make an entire platform. So there were a lot of challenges involved in that.
Okay. What about during the post-production, about the editing? So did you have to edit a really long footage? How did you create that?
So with the edit, I think the most difficult part of the edit was making sure that it's a seamless process, making sure that the trailer and the introduction videos, which are which are supposed to be our hallmark, which are supposed to get people interested, is something that really intrigues people. And what was the difficult part was making sure all the colors came off right, because the camera records in RAW, and you're simultaneously editing very fast. So we have to make sure of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your WWF series, could you tell us a bit about that as well? Those episodes, there are 5 episodes in that, and each are under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So how did you conceptualize that particular
Yeah.
series?
Yeah. So there are two ends of the spectrum. The virtual safari experiences, since they are completely a safari experience, they're approximately 2 hours long. There's no drama, there's no hallmark of what a traditional documentary would have, because it's not a documentary, it's an experience. Whereas what I created, which is season 1 of Safari with Suyash for WWF International, that's also in Bandhavgarh, is a 5-part series which delivers the message of a safari, conservation, wildlife, all in a very concise manner. And there's a lot of drama and action. There's beats, there's what's going to happen next, tracking. There's a lot of really cool sound effects that we have used, a lot of thumps, lot of the oomph factor. The idea was still at that time also to take people on a virtual safari experience. The idea was to still give people, especially the younger generations, especially people my age who might not care enough about the wild, deliver them something that they can watch within 10 to 15 minutes, not take too much of their time. But what they watch, they're like, wow. And that entire wow experience and the wow factor delivers home a message of conservation. So that's what the idea was. I had, again, this was completely self-produced, self-financed, and then WWF came over and took it forward for the web release, a global web release. Yeah, and yeah, it was a really good response. It was my first documentary series, and I'm still very proud of it.
Okay. So how have you been financing it? You said self-finance. So how have you been managing the finances of?
It's self-financed. This is my career. This is my job. So it comes from my own finances. Like whatever we get from filming, we invest it back in filming. I do a lot of safari tours as well. We sell footage. So all of that is invested back into filming and making documentaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have other favorite wildlife filmmakers who you look up to?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, as in terms of presenters, I loved Steve Irwin, late Steve Irwin. I love David Attenborough. The way they present, they're honestly gods of gods of all wildlife presenters. In terms of young people, I really look up to Bertie Gregory, again a British filmmaker and presenter. In India, there's some filmmakers that I really look up to. There's Shaz, who's doing some amazing work in Kabini. and there's Ishika who's doing some amazing work in the Himalayas. There's Malaika who's a female wildlife presenter, again doing some amazing work. So there's some really good young people doing some phenomenal work here in India.
So, do you also plan to collaborate with them? What are your future plans for
I would
your
love to.
OTT?
I would love to. I think the future plans for the OTT platform right now, we are working on releasing a virtual safari experience in Hindi, because all of them have been in English right now. And I think, a broad audience in India speaks majorly in Hindi, and we would love to cater to that audience as well. People also might ask why not do it in other languages like Kannada, Bengali, but unfortunately, I don't have that skill set. But in the future, we would love to involve other wildlife filmmakers who can and presenters who can speak in this native language, so we can also reach out to those native individuals.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
the season two of the virtual experiences would be in Hindi? Would it be a different location? Could you tell us a bit
No,
about it?
right now we're only what I can only say is that it'll be in Hindi. It'll be in Bandhavgarh, but it'll be in Hindi. Yeah.
Okay. When is it likely to come out?
It's going to take a
And
little bit more time. 'Cause
oh,
this third wave kind of derailed our efforts. There was a
oh,
big chunk of time that was completely lost because of this third wave. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Also, I mean, I was seeing one of your episodes of your experience with African lions, and while you were walking along with the guide, you spotted an elephant who got disturbed and charged against
yeah,
you.
yeah,
How was
yeah,
that experience? I mean, did you get really scared? I mean, looking at that itself, like pounds, my heart gets pounded when I see that particular scene. So, how was
yeah.
it like?
Thankfully, we came off scot free, and I want to be very careful and tell people that I'm trained in this field. They shouldn't do something just because I'm doing it. I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm trained in this field, and I also work with very highly trained professionals. What happened was we bumped into an elephant who was quite young, but also he was a young, boisterous male, and he charged at us because elephants tend to get a little defensive if you disturb them, if you chance upon them out of nowhere, and that's what happened. We were coming out of the bush. We just did not see him, and then we had to stand our ground. So he charged at us, and then the ranger who was with me and I, we had to be very loud. We had to, just shout on the top of our lungs, and then he stopped. He did that a couple of times, but he kept stopping, and then by the end of it he just went away. And what was very important was making sure, letting the elephant know through the body language that, hey, we don't want troubles, don't hurt us. And we also needed to show the elephant that we could pose a threat to him as well. It at that moment it was all about making sure that our body language is not to harm him, but also show that we can be defensive, and if he's being threatening, we can also stand our ground. So it was very important. Again, there will be some times that you don't stand your ground. That time you have to run away, but that only and only someone who is very professionally trained in wildlife can understand that. Like, I have to see the situation to gauge that. And people can watch all of this on Safari with Suyash TV. They can just Google it online, Safari with Suyash TV. They can become a member and watch the virtual safaris, watch that elephant encounter as well.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this particular virtual experience was all on foot, I believe. So, how long did you have to walk
Virtual,
and
no, no, virtual safari wasn't on
African
foot.
lion, sorry,
Yes,
the
African
African
one
lion,
was. Yeah,
yeah, was completely
yeah,
on foot. So, how long did you walk and to
yeah.
finally
That
spot the lion?
that took us about 15 days to film it. 15, 20 days to film, and every day we would walk 6 to 8 hours. Yeah, 6 to 8 hours, maybe 9 hours on foot. Um, yeah, and of course it took us like 2 days to find the lion, because in the African bush sometimes it's difficult to find lions on foot. It's easy to find them on the vehicle. Um, yeah, this was back in 2016. This was my first ever documentary I made. First documentary I presented in front of camera as well.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
as a wildlife conservationist and presenter, what do you think needs to be done at this particular moment to to conserve the wildlife from both people and the government side?
I think it's imperative that India moves in a direction where we're starting to connect all our national parks and reserves because they're becoming fragmented. They're becoming, our national parks are becoming islands of paradise surrounded by concrete ocean. It's going to be a very slippery slope ahead. Places like Bandhavgarh, Kanha, Panna, they're becoming so isolated that you'll have just a pocket remaining in the future, and everything will be surrounded by farmlands or human habitation. That will lead to a decrease in the gene pool, which would lead to inbreeding, which would lead to problems. And then slowly, because of the gene pool being so weak, tigers and other animals will become weaker and systematically start disappearing. So it's imperative that we connect national parks, we increase the area because a lot of these parks are actually getting overcrowded with animals because there's no space. Earlier, they could move from one reserve to the other or stay in between those reserves, but the forests in between have disappeared. Um, and I think big, along with this, it's very, very important that we educate every single person in India about wildlife and conservation. In schools, we don't teach about wildlife and conservation. Why is it that every individual, even people who are very well educated, think that, oh, a tiger in the wild is going to attack? Why do people think that, oh, we have thousands and thousands of tigers left? Why do people think that um, you know people can't make out a difference between a Barasingha and a Nilgai? All of those things are important because those are our natural heritage. People need to know the importance that national parks and reserves play. They need to know if a certain patch of land looks forested, but is it truly a forest which can support wildlife? Because if you clear 10,000 trees and in return you plant 20,000 trees, it's actually not going to be better because you're never going to be able to replicate the 10,000 trees which are naturally grown and every single plant that goes alongside of it. So all of that only can come through education. People need to be educated the right manner. Only if they're educated can they make better decisions to save our future.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for connecting with us on OTT today. It's a
absolutely.
pleasure speaking to you.
100%. Thank you so much. And people can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and they can, of course, watch the safaris on Safari with Suyash TV just simply by doing a Google search.